The Nintendo Switch 2 might be shaping up to be Nintendo's most aggressive hardware strategy yet because of the plethora of things that we are going to discuss in this video. And trust me, there's going to be some revelations with what Nintendo's going to do that most of you guys are not going to see coming. But before we get into that, what's good everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you are someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos first. Now let's go ahead and jump right into this because Nintendo's numbers are going to be coming out pretty soon here. We all know about the Nintendo Switch, its games, the success, but there is a lot more to get into because I do feel that this is the final full year of just the Nintendo Switch being Nintendo's main hardware. This is probably going to be that last full year before the Nintendo Switch successor is revealed and released to the public in 2025. And I wanted to go over why this is probably going to be their most aggressive shift ever that they've had in terms of what they do from one platform to another. And I'm going to explain how, because the Nintendo Wii U to the Nintendo Switch was pretty crazy, but this will be a bit different overall as Nintendo's tech has advanced a lot more from what we last saw. So the success of the Nintendo Switch, you have to talk about that first, because without talking about that, we don't get where we are at this point. Many people wrote off the system and stated that it wouldn't be successful even after Nintendo had that major January presentation. There were multiple videos and articles of people saying that it wasn't going to be a success. I did see that, and it made me a believer in January 2017. When I saw that launch lineup or that first year lineup, I was like, okay, this is pretty good because you have your big hitters, you have RPGs, you have all sorts of different types of games, and you've got a solid plan set in place in terms of the marketing and what this system is going to be about. So I felt that the plan was good enough to get a good amount of sales. So the success of the Nintendo Switch is key in all of this. The fact that they've been able to sell 141 million units plus is very, very good. There hasn't been a single system in the last 20 years to even get really close to challenging the PlayStation 2. Really, the Nintendo DS was the only system that truly got close in that 140, 150 million unit range to challenge the 155 to 160 million plus that the PlayStation 2 has. So no other system has truly gotten in striking distance, and the Nintendo Switch is that system. It's been the only system that's been able to do that. One of the best selling platforms of all time, third place right now, and should pass up the Nintendo DS sometime maybe next year if all things kind of go according to what Nintendo's looking for. And then eventually, based on how Nintendo does things, probably become the best selling system of all time as well. So I think that that is something that you have to just acknowledge first and foremost, because that's going to lead to some of the decisions and what they've been doing. That pretty much explains the longest period ever that Nintendo has had when it comes to a reveal and the launch of a system and the reveal of their next system or the release of their next system. This is the longest ever, and that's because of the success of the Nintendo Switch. But I do feel that that long-term success and what they've been able to accomplish has put them in their best position heading into the next generation since the NES. The NES came out and it dominated. Back then, it sold 60 million units plus. That was unheard of for a system like that, and it was able to parlay that into a dominant position with the Super Nintendo. Now, they did face a lot more competition with Sega, but that was good. It was good to have other systems selling and to have competition. I was there back in the console wars with the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo, and honestly, I didn't partake in those. I loved me some Sonic. I loved me some Sega whenever I got the chance, even though I had a Super Nintendo, and I felt that was good. Every single company is really looking to do the best they can do. I think it drove them to create some of the best games of all time in the Sega Genesis and in the Super Nintendo era. So I love that. And I think that right now you're seeing competition as well. You're seeing PlayStation, you're seeing PC, you're seeing a lot of different things. And I think that's going to push Nintendo as well. But being in a position of power and having confidence and having a fan base that enjoys what games are coming out and supports the system is so important in maintaining that momentum heading into the next generation. And it seems like Nintendo, from one way or another, always seems to kind of mess up that momentum or just not have it at all. The last number of generations, there has been no momentum heading into the next generation. GameCube to Wii, no momentum. From the Wii to Wii U, you had momentum, but it was stifled by around 2009 to 2010 when sales fell off of a cliff and Nintendo just stopped releasing games because they were getting ready for the Wii U. So there was no real momentum heading from one system to the next. And look at the Wii U to the Switch, no momentum as well. So this is the first time, probably, like I said, since the NES to the Super Nintendo, that you have real true momentum for a home console platform. So I do think that that is something that's very, very important that will come into play, and you'll see what I'm talking about here as well. But let's talk a little bit more about this year that has happened and what's still to happen for the second half here. The games have been more on the smaller side projects, some of the little things like Another Code and Mario vs. Donkey Kong, Princess Peach Showtime. You have some remasters, remakes, good stuff. Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, fantastic. Endless Ocean. There's been a whole ton of different type of games, but really no major mainline games really till the end of the year. And even then, it's kind of more of the side games of the main story. So not like the big 3D Zelda, you're getting the 2D overhead Zelda. It's still brand new, still looks good and everything, but still not that Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild type of Zelda, right? Not the main 3D Zelda. So this is more something that was in development from side team in parallel to the bigger games. You have stuff like the Mario Party game, Mario Party Jamboree, which looks awesome, and it's just a new Mario Party game. Obviously, the Mario Party games are great, but this one is just another one in that line, and it's the side spin-off from the Mario series. Same thing with Mario and Luigi Brothership, kind of the side RPG from the main series, which is fine. I mean, these are new games. They're going to be good games, but once again, they are made by other types of teams and not the main big 3D Mario team, the main big Zelda team. So what have those developers been doing? Well, they've been getting ready for the next generation. They're getting ready for these big games, and that's going to be so important, which we're going to touch on in a little bit later. Now, Nintendo still has big games in the chamber for the Nintendo Switch. Let's make sure that we get that out there, because Metroid Prime 4, a game that's been in development for pretty much the whole Nintendo Switch generation in one way or another, that's coming to the Nintendo Switch in 2025, and Pokemon Legends ZA, that's also coming to the Nintendo Switch in 2025. So there still are some major titles in the big franchises that are coming to the Nintendo Switch, which is great. But I do feel that Nintendo will have, once again, their most aggressive hardware strategy yet. And that's going to be having a cross-platform type of deal. You're going to see stuff on the Nintendo Switch, which is fine. The system sold 140 million units plus. Obviously, you want to have games on there. But I think that they're actually going to do something that they usually don't do. And that's why I'm saying this is a bit aggressive here, which is supporting the previous generation and the current generation when it comes down to it. And I do think that that strategy will play dividends for Nintendo in the future, especially if the adoption of the new system isn't as fast as we saw with the Nintendo Switch, which I think it should be based off of games that are going to be coming to the platform. Now, how will this take form when it comes to this aggressive cross-platform strategy or their hardware strategy here? Well, it could be cross-buy. That's something that we've seen before Nintendo somewhat engage in, not necessarily, but somewhat do. There could be free upgrades, which Nintendo has never done, and there could be just full re-releases, which Nintendo has done a variety of times across platforms, dating all the way back to the Super Nintendo overall. They've done re-releases with remasters, remakes. We know this very well. So I'm very curious to see exactly what Nintendo does with this. Do they take the Xbox route where it's like you just buy one version and you get all of them? Probably not, but I'm guessing it's going to be more like the PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5 route, where you're going to have some free upgrades, you're going to have some just complete remakes, you're going to have some games that you just pop the game in, there might be an update for it. So I'm guessing it's going to be fluid in terms of what they're going to offer. I don't think it's going to be a one-size-fits-all like Microsoft did with the smart delivery. I think it's going to be more like how PlayStation handled it, where it's going to be like a case-by-case scenario, depending on the game itself and what the developers decide to do. I mean, you could get a game that gets boosted just naturally playing on the Nintendo Switch 2 based off of the technology that they're using, DLSS and all that. But then you could get stuff that just play exactly the same based on just how Nintendo has their backwards compatibility and strategy with that. But I do think that once again, it's going to be very aggressive in terms of what they do to kind of ease that transition, which they've actually used that terminology from the previous platform with the Nintendo Switch to the new platform with the Nintendo Switch successor. Now, here's the thing though, guys, like success is not guaranteed at all. It's just not guaranteed. You don't know what's going to happen, but I feel that the combination of home and portable does a lot of heavy lifting. Nintendo throughout history, whenever they run into problems, the N64, the GameCube, the Wii U, if you look at it, it's always due to a lack of games or a lack of variety sometimes with their games, or the fact that they have something else that they're supporting that's kind of outshining it with the Game Boy and with the GBA and with the DS. I mean, we've seen it, 3DS. We've pretty much seen it throughout the history of Nintendo that, yeah, a lot of times those portable systems actually outshine the home console counterpart to the point to where the portable system sells so much more. But now that's no longer an issue overall because you have the combined home console and portable. And with that combined home console and portable, you no longer have to worry about creating multiple versions of a game or having the console version and the portable version on, okay, now we got to make this game on here. You can simply just make one game and people buy it for that. And we've seen a boost across the board when it comes to all of the main franchises. Some of the best selling, if not the best selling games in a lot of Nintendo's staple of franchises come from the Nintendo Switch because of that combination, and people that are portable fans and home console fans are coming together and just buying this singular game. And Nintendo can focus, they can lock in and focus on simply just delivering the best experience for that platform. Now, once again, that might get tested a little bit here if they do have this aggressive cross-platform strategy, but I feel that you're building off of what you already have. It's much easier to do that than simply having two completely separate entities that don't really share any type of logistics or anything. It's much harder to do that. Like in the past, like with an N64 and a Game Boy, for example, just two completely different pieces of tech, which Nintendo and the late great Iwata, the former president, spoke about, saying, yeah, that was really difficult before in the past, but now we've kind of fixed that issue. We've alleviated it by combining our home console and our portable divisions, which they did all the way back in 2013. So even back then, they knew that it was going to come to this at some point. So yes, I absolutely feel that the combination of portable and home console is doing a lot of that and kind of relieves the burden of saying, okay, like, are we gonna have to sell again and again, two separate times, marketing campaigns where you can just really focus in and once again lock in on that one type of messaging for what you're going to do. Now, I do think that probably the most important thing here, yes, marketing is important, it's very important. Yes, the system itself, the power, the specs, all that different type of stuff, that stuff's important, and I think that it will be good enough for what Nintendo's trying to do and what some of the third parties are trying to do. But I think at the end of the day, the games, the launch lineup, the first year in particular, the launch window or so, first 9 months to 12 months, that is so important for the success of a platform. You can make or break your platform in that first year. It's very hard to really turn things around if you get off to a slow start. What we've seen in Nintendo's history is that slow starts are not good. If you have a slow start, yes, you can turn it around, but man, it is nerve-wracking, and just the, I would say, media surrounding having a slow start is just not good. It just puts a damper on everything that you're trying to do. So I think that starting off fast, which I think that Furukawa understands completely, is going to be so important to Nintendo's aggressive hardware strategy. They have to pair that awesome hardware that they're going to do with Nintendo Switch 2 with incredible pieces of software. You can have the strongest and best hardware all you want to. You can have all the teraflops you want to, like the Xbox Series, but if you don't have the games to take advantage of that, if you don't have the games to get people excited and want the hardware, you're going to have bad sales, like we're seeing with the Xbox hardware, where they're constantly declining year on year when this is supposed to be really their strong point. This is the mid slash end of gen that they're going into, and they're having declines year on year on hardware. And that's definitely not a good thing because they took way too long to get the must-have software out. Nintendo knows this. They had it with the Nintendo Switch. They had that must-have software, those big, massive games at the very beginning and throughout that first year. You can have a little bit of a lull in the second year if you need to catch up, but you need to establish yourself as dominant from the beginning with the software. So I would expect, if I had to have a launch lineup for the Nintendo Switch 2 in the first, I would say 9 months, I would expect there to be a new 3D Mario, a brand new Mario Kart, in addition to some more core titles as well. You can supplement that with some free upgrades for previous generation games on the Nintendo Switch, and I think people would enjoy that. But yes, expect there to be a big 3D Mario game and a big 3D Mario Kart in that first year. I would expect that, but I think they need a bit more than that. So we'll see what Monolith Soft has. We'll see what some of the other third parties have, maybe licensing for certain types of games, surprising crossovers like a Mario plus Rabbids, maybe something else that surprises people out there. Obviously, you need to have some other games from Nintendo. I think that a Splatoon 4 or something like that being revealed could be really good. So I think Nintendo will definitely have a variety of games. It's just based on exactly when those games come out and where they're slotted in. I think that's the most important thing. They've got to have them spaced, but they also have to have them in a succession to where people don't feel that there is a drought. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Nintendo does in that first year. I think that first year lineup is going to be very good, and we're going to see Nintendo in a graphical fidelity that we've never seen them before when it comes to on their own native hardware. So what do you guys think about what I had to say here about Nintendo's possible strategy for the Nintendo Switch 2 heading into things? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and we will see you for the next video. Peace.